Hi everybody, good morning. Glad to have you with me on this rainy day. We have had more rain this June than we've had in a long time. And this is a nice way to spend a rainy morning. In fact, I think it's only in just above 60 degrees. And the humidity is very high here. And I'm going to give you a little tour of the plants here after, but right now we're going to have an orchid discussion, and I'm going to do something everybody's going to say, oh no, and I want to explain why I'm going to do it. So I've thought we'd join ourselves out here, and I did phone about the little pileated woodpecker this morning. I phoned to Vernon, to Kamloops. He's at the wildlife farm there, and he's in a beautiful big pen. He's out and in, he can go. And I asked how he's doing, and she said he's doing really well. He can't fully fly yet. He can flutter and make a short distance, but that's all. But he's walking around, and he's happy, and he's eating, and he's doing really well. So they will keep him there until he's old enough and healthy enough to be let out on his own. And who knows, maybe he'll fly back to this area. So anyway, time will tell, and I'm glad he's happy because he is so cute. So, hi Maggie, you want to come over here? Come on in and sit down. There's a spot for you here. Might as well make ourselves comfortable. Okay, now I have an orchid here. I had two of these pots. These pots were vintage lampshades. I've got them upside down. The top was this, and the light shone through the holes. We didn't add any holes. And I took the other orchid out of the pot like this some time ago, and I forget when. Up here. Let's get her happy first. Happy, happy. There you go. So I took the other one out the pot. Now this one, it's in full bloom. The blooms are nice and healthy looking, but I'm going to cut them off. And I'm going to explain why. Because I had two late bloomers. And funny thing about the other one, I may end up doing this too yet, but I want to wait till all the flowers are out. Sometimes if you get them where some of the buds aren't open, you will lose some flowers when you cut it. So I didn't want to wait to do it that early, so I've waited for them all to open. I'm going to explain why I think this is the best thing to do for this orchid. The other orchids, 27 of them I think, were in bloom from December until May. So they had a long flowering season, and that's just averaging them out. Some go longer, some not as long, but that would be about an average of in your home how long the flowers last. Now outside is a different story, because as soon as a bee or something comes and pollinates that flower, then it's going to fade away. Just like ethylene gas, if you have too much ethylene gas near your orchids in bloom, which can come from other flowers that are wilting and dying off, it can come from fruits and vegetables sitting around, it can come from, even the fumes from a gas stove can cause problems. So those are things that will make flowers drop quicker. And so when I first put these orchids, and there was two, it was a video I did on September 1st, 2017. Now, that's quite a while ago. And that was the first potting of these orchids. And they were in sad shape. They were really compacted. And I found the worst shape they're in when you get them there's usually, takes a little longer for them to actually perk up. Although these have been flowering every time, the other one is doing better. It's out of this pot too. I'm not blaming the pots, because on April 30th, 2018, I did a video on going in and looking at these plants, because I didn't like how they looked, and there was a lot of scale inside, around the roots, all in there, and I had kept wiping it off. And if you have a plant that doesn't look real healthy, you just feel something isn't right, then it is a good time to take a good look at it. Now, I haven't had any more scale. I very conscientiously, when I water, very carefully look for any sign of scale. And I might find one or two, but that's it, because I keep it up. I always wipe the top of the leaves especially. But you know, some people say don't wipe under the leaves, but I do wipe under the leaves, just very gently, and especially along the edge of the leaf. That's where the scale sometimes is, and down into the crotch where they're growing out of the stem. So anyway, it's still the original larger bark that I had. So I decided that just looking at this orchid, the leaves, I'm going to come and show you close up. The leaves, they're not as healthy as the other orchids. This one here is, they're just not as firm. Now, let me, for example, show you this. These leaves are very firm and hard. And even these ones have thickened out. And the root growth is, when you have your roots, and the longer that little face of the aerial root or the root underground is, the faster it's growing, the healthier it is. It shows how fast growing your plant is. And this one here, even this one, even though it was the damaged one that hit the floor, the leaves, this is a nice new leaf. Very firm and healthy. And the speckles is just probably, these leaves always come up speckled. It's quite normal, and it's probably in its ancestry, because they all turn proper, but when they come new, this is what they look like. And that's what I want to see with this one. And if I leave this flower, if I leave this inflorescence, if I leave it on and wait it for it to 4 months, it's going to miss the real growing spell for the leaves and the roots to really grow. And I don't want it to miss it. So, yes, we're going to cut it off. We're going to see how it looks inside. There's nothing rotten, but I'm just not real happy with it. And I have a pot here. Now, this is a pot that, it was the outside pot of an orchid we bought, quite a long time ago. And Jack did drill some holes in it. And it's actually terracotta with a paint over it. And but when you look inside the pot, when he drilled the holes, you can see it's terracotta. So, but because it's painted, it's not going to dry out real fast, which I don't want here. If I lived somewhere that was really humid like today all the time, I would be looking for all terracotta, or slatted boxes, or hanging. But normally we're not like that, and it will get hot and dry because things do change. So we are going to repot this, and we're going to have a look at how things are. So I'll take off the clamp. I think there's another little Oops, there we go. Okay. This is purple passion. It is a beautiful flower. Now, before I cut it, we'll just put this on the floor where we won't trip on it. Okay, now before I cut it, I want to show you what I got here. Now, there's debates. I have kept flowers like this for long over a month in a vase. And I'm just going to show you what I do. Now, I have some warm water in this vase. And I have some low-dose aspirin. I have some low-dose aspirin. So, and I also have some tonic, happy hour tonic water because it has in it, it has sugars which are going to be good for this flower. It has citric acid because sometimes they'll say add lemon juice or something like this. And it has quinine. So if that quinine, some people, some health conscious gurus or different people, they buy quinine water because of the coronavirus. You have to look it up, and they drink that because of the quinine in it, which is used for, I think it's anti-malarial or something. But all this is good, not in a full dose, but in a small amount. So what I do, and we're going to check how long this lasts. So I have used this, and I have in here, I ground up to a nice powder, the low-dose aspirin. Okay? And I'm going to add enough of this that I can fill the other half of this vase. There's not a lot of water in that vase, but I'll have it close to me in the kitchen, and I'll always be able to see when it needs refill, because you want to keep it clean. If you have to, you can recut it in a week or two, and you want to make sure you're looking after the water. So there's our mixture. Put that there. And we're going to pour that in the vase. Whoop. There we go. You could drink this. I won't. I try not to take any pills. Someday I should do a video on all my little idiosyncrasies, but I try not to take any pills. I mean, I can have a real bad headache, but it's like, I'll go out in the garden and get some lavender and scrunch it up, or breathe some lavender essential oil or something. Anyway, now, because I want it to live a long time, I don't really want to crush it. You know, some flowers, when they pick them, they crush the stem. But with these ones, I like a nice, clean, slanted cut when I do it. So I have a clean, new razor blade, and I'm taking the whole spike down because I want all this plant's energy to go towards the plant here, the leaves and the roots. I want more leaves, more roots, healthier plant, and healthier flowers next year. So if you like to keep your stems on, that's okay. With a healthy plant, it's your decision one way or the other, and it's quite okay. But with an unhealthy plant or one that's suffering, they do suggest to take it off. So I am taking it off. I'm making one slanted cut. It's a very strong stem. Okay. Even a plant on death row, so to speak, even a plant on death row, an orchid, will throw out a flower spike. And you say, oh, it's healthy, it's got a flower spike. No, 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 no. It's not necessarily healthy, it's got a flower spike, but it's trying to keep its family of orchids going and growing, and that's life. And that's how it will do it. So we're going to put this in here. Just one nice vase. It's going to look very pretty, and we'll see from this day forward how long it will last. Now I can get a lot of enjoyment from this flower still, even though it's not on the plant. It's very beautiful, and I am not worried about it. In fact, I can move it around, but not somewhere really warm. They like it cool. They will definitely last longer if they're cool. So now we've done that much, and I'm going to clear a little spot here. I got scissors. I got everything I moved around for your visit. So, yeah. Okay, we're going to put that there. And I got water. Well, other things been happening, as you know, other than climbing ladders and saving Jack on the tree and saving the bird. We get into all kinds of things, so we keep busy and we try to have fun. So, okay, so let's just see how this looks first. I'm gonna hold on to it. Now, my watering day is Wednesday. This one has been in the house, not on the patio, because of the flowers. Now, there's no moisture, so to speak, in there, but I'm not worried about that. This is old bark, and the pot looks good. There's nothing clinging to this pot, so let's put that down there. I notice a smell, but it's okay. It's not as if it's moss or anything. Now, sometimes if it's an orchid I'm repotting, yeah, I feel dampness when you hold tight. I wouldn't have been worried about water till my watering day. You know, everything feels fine. In fact, the ones, you'll find the older ones are moister. Now, some of the new roots are clinging on to the bark. So we'll just have a good look here. Some of them, gee, you know, the roots cling to the bark and you hate to disturb them, but I don't want to leave them there when they're in more a decaying state. Another reason I like bark is I think even when they're growing little new orchids, they flask them, but bark, with the bark, rather than with an artificial potting media, there is a lot of microbial growths, different good bacteria that the orchid actually is beneficial, where you don't get in something that, you know, if I was to use another media like Leica, I like to use a natural media, and I have found good luck with the bark. It's all I use and have used. But if you don't have, if you can't get just bark, I did start out with the bags they sell for orchids in the grocery stores, and that's how I started, and they still did fine. But you're just replacing it more often because the bark is really growing on some of these guys. I'm just picking it off. You have to replace it more often because it's more, there's a lot of fine debris in there. I'm going to show you a close-up when I get this. So there's no sign of disease here. I don't know, sometimes you do get a pot, and I've tried many different pots, and I've only run across this one other time, and I don't have any trouble with all the different pots I use, but I do best with the they like these travecones and the plastic, and they like the Asian orchid pots that you can buy online too, that I find at garage sales. This bark is so soft, I'm able to kind of break it and get the roots sort of that are clinging to it released. Because now if this was a newer, firmer bark, other times I haven't worried about it. And I think it'll go into a real growth spell now, and we'll keep our eye on it. So. What do you think, Maggie? Oh, you're a good girl. Maggie was jealous of that woodpecker. And then she missed it when it wasn't here. Here. Yeah, I should explain, we knew, you know, don't disturb wildlife. They usually, you know, things go on normal, but I think this circumstance didn't look like it was going to be normal, and we were concerned that the mother was no longer around, or the father, or something. It hadn't ended good, so we were concerned after. No sign of any, and we never really see them around in this neighborhood. Our neighbors down the street, they've had them at their bird feeders, but we haven't had them here, so I think it ended up best for the little guys doing really well, apparently. There, so I'm going to show you what I'm doing here, and I'm going to show you I did take one root off, and could have been just from before, so okay, here we are here. I took this one off. It's not really soggy, it's damp, it's been there a while. And in here, there's, you know, it's not as healthy as most of them are when I look at them. It does have some nice roots coming, and I think it will perk up quite a bit. I've been soaking the bark in seaweed fertilizer, and I'm just going to trim a few things because I think growth will happen. I already heated these under the gas light, and we'll see what we're going to just take off a few. A few that I think growth will happen, but if they're old ones, they've been around a while. A lot of times you will get some new growth coming on an old root, so I'm not really, I don't go at it as seriously as some. So, I think we'll take that one. I'll show you when I'm finished. So it's been flowering, but it has not been thriving like the others. So this is what I keep my eye on, and I just decided I wasn't going to let it flower any longer. There we go, we almost got it. Just sometimes you can't rush over these when they're stuck like that. So let's see, that looks better. Got one there. What's this? This is a root, it's healthy, everything looks good. Okay, I want to show you this too. Now, as a subscriber some time ago reminded me, these old sheaths from the leaf, sometimes if you tend to have a different media, or your media doesn't dry as fast, because that's just a lighter leaf tissue, what will happen if it's not dry, like usually the top of my pots are dry, but this can get bacteria in it, and it can cause sogginess around the root. So lately I picked mine off, and this one's starting way up here. I usually have a pair of pliers handy. See, right in there. So I take that off now. And also it makes it easier for the roots to grow. See if I can get in there. So I'm going to take this one right in here. Pull. Yeah. It's nice. It's not soggy in here, but it can get that way. Like I say, if you're in a more humid area, or you water more, your media is a little bit different. You add moss to it, you get moss sitting around there, then that could be a problem. So things are looking good. So it's really nice stuff to add to the compost. And then it goes back in my garden and everything recirculates. There will be a tour of outside in the garden. Oh my God, it's like a jungle out there because of all this rain. Okay, there's the bark. Let's just clean that up. Doesn't matter where I go, I make a mess. Okay, now, seaweed fertilizer and water for 3 days, been soaking in here. And I have water in here. And I have my pot. Okay. So let's give it a little soak. Yeah, there's no sign of a scale anymore, but you know, sometimes you bring one in and it's got it, you don't see it, you miss it, and it thrives in there, and then it travels to your other orchids. And these were the first two I ever had any trouble with, but if they're in the store a long time and they're near a lot of other flowering plants, things move around. There. I am happy with that. I see a healthy looking plant, but one that's been struggling. So we're going to repot that. We got it all nicely rinsed off. Sometimes you have a nice green root coming off of an old one. So when we got one struggling, we want to try and keep them all going. And then I want to show you the fountain. And the humidity's been so high. At first I noticed that, just a minute. We got to put this in something. There we go. At first I noticed a difference because it was warm for a few days. It's been like warm and then not warm. I noticed a difference where the humidity, I think, increased 5 to 10%. But now, because of the rain, I can't really say that because the humidity is so darn high anyway. So I tell you, like, I went back, you know, some people say they want to send me a picture. I was thinking sometime, I don't know, I should make an email, a station. I wish YouTube would make it so people could send me pictures, but some people manage to start a YouTube station and then I go there and look at their orchids, and it's very enjoyable for me. And I learn a lot too. Sometimes you learn something that you didn't know you were going to learn. You just do. So I go back on my YouTube station and I found out the days these were potted, what they look like. I can go and look at the video, see how they look, what I said, and then I can go, I know why I've been having a problem with this one. So this is just bark. Now, lava rock, if you added lava rock to this, I thought about doing it, but the lava rock I got for the fountain, you can see I've washed the water out once already. It's messy, and I didn't want to clog up the pores of the roots. And whether other lava rocks aren't as messy, I don't know. But that particular one, it's definitely always shedding dust. So I stick with what I know works for me here. And that's just the bark. And if you're somewhere and you need extra humidity and you add moss or you add whatever you need, rock wool or lava rock, whatever you need is something that you discover by always checking your pot for the first while. The watering day is a good day, and you can tell, you can just check it till you get used to it. Take it out of the pot, check the media, see how it looks, and check the roots, and you'll know that okay, I should need to water more, I need to add something to the bark, I need to water less. The pot will tell you. And unless you have the plastic pots you can see in, that would be a good way too. Sometimes you can get on sunlight and plastic pots, you can get green algae and stuff growing on the sides, but I like these pots. I just kind of do this because this is what works for me. Now, this water will be really good just to put out in the garden because it's got the seaweed fertilizer. Give it to a plant out there. So that is good. I've done it, and I want to take you over to look at the other orchids to see how they're doing and explain a few things. I've just removed these from over there. So I'll do that. These ones will go back. There. Okay. Yes, it is raining out there. The giant lilies are coming out, but we'll do a tour out there another day when it's a little nicer walking around. The garden is muddy. The garden is muddy. So here's a close-up of this leaf. Nice, that's a nice big leaf. This one is, you'll find some of your orchids are just, I mean, those are hard, very hard, these leaves. This one, of course, is a little firmer because it's not as firm because it's new. So these ones also are nice and firm, and that's the sign of growth. This one is kind of in a medium growth period. Okay, let's go over here. Now, here's the fountain. We didn't use the ball on the top that rolled away. It was trying to tell me it wouldn't work. I wasn't getting enough spray. So what we've got down here is a little plastic tube with holes on that's just hooked to the pump I showed you. And it just spreads enough mist to keep the rocks moist and also add humidity. But you can see what I meant by the dust. I had to clean this out once already. But you know, even if you don't make a full fountain, what I've done here is I took the other flat rocks I had out and I've put in these, and I found that was even making a great difference. So this is an older orchid. It has a nice new leaf coming, and its growth is looking good. Not overly large, but good. Okay, and that's what we're looking at. And down in here, in this one, there's good growth, new roots coming. Now this is my Valentine big lip orchid. Look at the growth. Look at how fast this one is growing. When you see the length of these roots, you know it's growing fast. So that is good. It's got a nice new leaf coming, and of course this leaf, you can't see way in there, it was always half off even when I first got it. So that one will definitely eventually come off, which is okay. It's going to have lots of leaves. I'm not too worried. Now this one here, there's your sign of growth. There's this like an old root with a nice new one coming off it, and even one down in here. So nice new leaf coming. This one struggled. You can tell a struggling plant at first with maybe funny shapes, small leaves. And then, oh yeah, we looked at that one. And then another one here. And then down in this pot, growth is good. They've been heading down, which is good. Lots of green roots down here. And the sign of growth, a nice long sign. Nice, firm, hard leaves. That is what I want from the other one. So, oh, down here, since I brought them outside, the little slipper orchids have, this one's really doing better. It's got some little roots coming. This one's still struggling. We got ants in here because we are close to. And finally, this little mini one, there's the name, is finally getting a new leaf. Yay! And they're seeming to like this. Lots of new leaves and new growth. And this Memoria Valrettig, she took me a while to realize she doesn't like too much light. She likes to be like a slipper orchid, and she's been way happier. Now, remember the mother orchid with the long monopodial stem? My first orchid, I was losing her. She has a new leaf. It's still small, but she's doing good, and the roots look good. And the baby, the roots in here look good. They're green. She has lots of green roots down inside. I don't know if you can see down in there, but she has lots of green roots. And of course she has a leaf. It's going to be so nice to have a baby from my first orchid. So we're hoping this continue. Now I keep her way in the back, and I pulled her out just for this video. But this is what I want to see on all my orchids, is nice firm leaves. And of course, because it's brighter up here, that's where the dendrobiums are. Not outside because of all the rain, and I just can't control the weather, and I think they're happier here with lots of light. So I guess that is it for today. Thank you for joining me, and we'll see you when the weather's better and we'll do a garden tour. Bye for now.